Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Arc 5 live reads. I am so sorry for the delay. I don't know how to do a pre-set up live reading. Yeah, we love to see it. Now I do. I've learned. Hello everyone, it's good to see you all again. Yes, Kyle's technical difficulty Migyles returns. Well, we have a smaller cast today, and we have a different kind of setup. Unfortunately, there's been a couple issues coming up with our VA's lives, so thankfully we've had pre-recorded audio. So today we're actually only gonna play you chapters 49 and 50. Chapter 49 is 28 minutes, and chapter 50 is about 52 minutes long. So we're going to edit 51 over the next week with chapters 52 to 54. So tomorrow's stream will be canceled, but we will have streams up Friday, Saturday, Sunday next week, if all goes well. That being said, I will bring on and introduce the cast we have available for our live discussions. Hopefully more of the cast comes later, but this is who we have for now. All right, and I'm gonna bring them in.
The first one?
Not the second
friends.
one. I gotta leave in like an hour and 50 minutes.
Hello, friends, you're live now. So I guess we'll start from the top and go down to the bottom. So I'm KylesMigyles. I'm your Emilia, but I'm just Kyles today. Your turn, Kanda. Are you guys speaking? Uh-oh.
Oh my god. Why? I gave the best introduction of all time.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Discord couldn't said no. Kanda, try again.
Okay, well, I am Kanda. I haven't been on a stream here in a while, but I'm glad to be back. And let's see, what did I just say 5 minutes ago? I'm sure Kyle's already talked about it, but we're playing recordings today, so it's not going to be completely live, but we are going to give you our discussions afterwards. So unfortunately, you're not going to get to hear any of my amazing live performances today, but you'll get them soon. Anyway.
Alright, now that he's done talking, my name is Matter. You can call me Matt. I'm new. I don't really have anything to do. This is who I am. Hello. I'm new.
Alright. I'm GC Typo, and I've been handling the OSTs for these chapters.
Pachi! Yay! This is our current team. If anyone else shows up, you're more than welcome to. Any of our staff who has access to the staff chat, you're welcome to join. And without further ado, we're gonna start playing chapter 49. Please let us know if you can overhear me editing in the back as I finish up chapter 50. All right, I'm gonna start muting you guys starting now.
Enjoy.
Arc 5, Chapter 49. Thus opens a crusade against greed. Huh? Subaru? A voice which seemed to summon Subaru, who had crashed through the entrance of the church and sprinted inside. It belonged to Emilia, who stood in front of the altar, clad in a white wedding dress. Dressed in a snow-white dress, her long hair coiled in a braid on her head. She was too beautiful, lovely to a dazzling degree. In the right circumstance, Subaru more than anyone else would have wanted to admire Emilia's bridal attire, but...
I'll sort out my thoughts on the MT later. Seems like we crashed this wedding here.
The ceremony was already going awry, it seems, though we still be regarded as the intruders here.
From a ways away, Reinhardt snuck a glance at Emilia and Regulus. as those two glared at each other and agreed with Subaru's mutters. The ceremony seemed to be on the verge of a complete breakdown, offering them a perfect opportunity to intrude. Upon hearing their words, Regulus's already sour face reddened with rage. He yanked at the front of his suit as his mouth twisted in a vicious pout.
Sorry, though I feel for uninvited guests such as yourselves, this wedding will soon become a funeral anyway. The emotional preparation for such a joyous event to become one of lament? Alright. You need to consider such matters anyway, since you'll soon go from ones bidding farewell to the ones who should be bid farewell to.
Hey now! What are you going on about when you were rejected right before the wedding? And the bride is so fed up with you that she's about to take a Narrator divorce! Show a little shame here! Besides, didn't you hear me when I introduced this guy beside me?
Regarding Regulus's murderous ramblings, Subaru taunted him as he eyed Reinhard. Surprised, Regulus exhaled and between his teeth.
What, the Sword Saint? I think I've heard of him once. Isn't that the moniker of some guy who knows nothing but swinging a sword? What are you planning to do with that kind of guy? Could it be that you thought of him as some trump card? That's rich! Whether it be reputation from history or glory from the bloodline or whatnot, all that's nothing but old-fashioned traditionalism. Notions like that, when struck by a wave of progress, should crumble to ash. Isn't that just nature at work? You two, are you here to demonstrate?
Funny that you say I know nothing but swinging a sword, huh? In truth, many of the expectations that fall upon me stem from that one role. But there is one slight problem here.
Even faced with such arrogance, Reinhard showed not a trace of annoyance. As he spoke, his hand crept quietly towards his waist. Sheathed there was a celestial sword, with engravings traced by the claws of the dragon itself, which Reinhard always carried. However, as he clenched his palm around the hilt, he shook his head.
What's wrong? Reinhard?
The dragon sword reed is an unparalleled blade, which has been passed down since the first generation of the Astrea family. But it does have one flaw. It refuses to be unsheathed in the presence of an enemy it deems unworthy.
Which means?
It seems that the sword has concluded that this enemy is not worthy of being drawn against.
Regardless of whether Reinhard had the intention of doing so, Regulus had received a rather humiliating evaluation. But Subaru had personally witnessed how the sword had not made its appearance during a confrontation with Elsa, and so he understood what Reinhard had meant. However, even with that in mind, Regulus's unflattering appraisal remained.
What can a sword saint who can't even draw his sword do against me? Know your place, scum. In the first place, I'm not even on the same level as you. You fools, who can only assert their own worth by comparing themselves to others. Don't you dare think less of me.
Sounds like you really do think you're all that.
Facing the burning obscenity in Regulus's eyes, Subaru found himself genuinely surprised, ignoring all his threats and listening only to the heart of his speech.
Hypocrisy is your forte, isn't it? Claiming to have achieved perfection. But instead you're the one who prattles on about being superior to others?
You lowlife. Don't you condescend to preach to my satisfied self!
Infuriated by Subaru's jeers, Regulus finally put his threats into action. With murderous intent, he kicked the ground in front of the altar. Instantly, the paved floor shattered with astonishing force. The torrent of destruction pummeled straight ahead towards Subaru, sweeping shards of wood and stone into its overwhelming embrace and shattering them into fine dust.
Whoa!
Subaru, over here.
Just as the destructive wave neared him, someone caught him by the neck and yanked him to safety. A sudden gust of wind freed Subaru from the shackles of that torrent. This was Reinhard's doing. With one hand, he pulled Subaru and evaded the attack. Gently depositing Subaru on the ground, Reinhard spun around, bending his knees, preparing to face Regulus. However...
Don't move! Dare to try anything, and they'll all be dead in an instant.
Glaring at Reinhard, who remained with his knees lightly bent, Regulus placed his hands on the walls of the church. Rows of elaborately dressed women watched him impassively as the guests of the wedding. Clearly, they recognized the intent of his actions and severity of the situation, but they only stood in place, indifferently accepting the surrounding chaos.
On that note, though I'd rather not look too far into it, who are these women?
All of them are my dear beloved wives. Lovely princesses who cherish me and are in turn cherished by me. Could you bear to allow such innocent girls to die? How could you be so cruel?
God damn. I had a slight suspicion. Oh, but I can't establish a conversation at all.
Had there been ever any impression that he could? Regulus's rhetoric was completely incoherent. To hold these women hostage, and yet to declare that they were his beloved wives, was a line thought outside of a realm of reason. The worst of it was that both the proclamation of innocence and the notion that Regulus would kill them were undoubtedly true. This illogical hostage situation was indeed an extremely effective tactic against Subaru's group.
It's not like I want them to die or anything. Even so, if you still resist further, I'll have no choice. I'll start at the beginning and go in order. Is it forcing me to do something so awful just heartless?
Not like that makes any sense at all, but I don't remember pushing you to that point.
Don't make excuses! Maybe I'd be the one directly killing them, but you're the one triggering the event. Your murderous intent would be the true weapon. You're using me as the weapon. You're the real murderers! Don't try to escape the responsibility, you heartless wife murderers!
Hatred burned in Regulus's eyes as he gnashed his teeth and glared at Subaru. The murderer who spouted the twisted rhetoric seemed not disturbed in the least by his revolting statements. While trying to buy time with dialogue, Subaru snuck a meaningful glance at Reinhard. However, their volatile opponent held about 50 hostages in his grasp. If both walls collapsed at the same time, even Reinhard could not be able to prevent any casualties. If it went on like this, they would be stuck in stalemate. No, this was developing exactly the way Regulus hoped it would. However, the moment he thought so... Have you forgotten about me already?
Huh?
Celestial lights began to dance beside Regulus. In one instant, the light enveloped the entire cathedral. In the next, a sharp sound was born, interfering with the world. The light and sound chained into each other, intertwining and resonating, a simple, clear melody filling the temple. In the blink of an eye, a grand barrier of ice was in the center of the room. That sanctuary of ice spread throughout the cathedral, with Emilia in front of the altar at its center, and created a thick barrier around the women in attendance, who Regulus had taken hostage. In addition, the ice had frozen Regulus's legs to the ground, and a frozen sword pressed itself against the bare nape, a sword which extended from Emilia's hand. You were far too careless there. Even I can't expect to just jump into a fight with you, so I prepared long and hard to freeze you like that. You lost.
I say, you're truly incapable of reading the atmosphere, aren't you? Right now, aren't I about to force them to back down? This is an important scene, showing that I'm righteously capable of facing despicable enemies with resolve. And my wives too. Everyone clearly believes in and prays for my victory. Who do you think you are?
Free all of us this instant! Although no one said it, some of them only stay with you because they're afraid. Even so, you should cherish them, since they're the ones who go out of their way to help you.
Really? Who do you think you're talking to? Looks like not making you a wife was wise indeed.
Oh?
Emilia! No! It's not enough to stop him!
Normally, this would be the finale of the act. Emilia's judgment was not off. However, if there was something different about the situation, was that their opponent simply exceeded the limits of humanity. With a sigh, Regulus began twisting his frozen limbs. With that slight motion alone, the ice encasing his lower half began to disintegrate. The frozen prison shattered to dust, in action so easily that it was like the ice had melted. Faced with this reversal, Emilia had nary the time to even draw breath before Regulus seized her by the neck and allowed her to dangle, suspended only by his hand.
Such violence, without even knowing how to keep yourself decent for a man. It doesn't matter that you're physically and mentally a virgin if you're cheating on someone mentally. You whore. You filthy slut! As if toying with my innocent heart weren't enough, you took it a step further and tried to threaten! Never have I seen such an unforgivable woman! How many men have you seduced with your pretty face? Just a brief smile and every man would be kind to you? Just a small sound and every man would be ecstatic? Just a gentle touch and every man would pour gift upon gift onto you? You dirty bitch!
Stop! Take your hands off her, you fucker!
Sighing to himself, Regulus's voice was filled with disdain as he spoke to Emilia, still caught in his grasp. His eyes, cold and inhuman, cut through Subaru's outrage at the unspeakable words.
How stupid are you that you can't work this situation out? Or are you one of those fools who've already given up on understanding? Here I am, ceaselessly trying to explain, but people like you who hold thoughts of self-improvement and abandon all conscious thought, don't you think you're being too wasteful of my generosity? Do your best to stand in someone else's shoes. Can't you even do that? Still playing cards like that? Isn't your skill and interaction just too poor?
Let Emilia-sama go, and I'll hear out your requests.
From beside Subaru, who found himself speechless with rage, Reinhardt spoke to Regulus. Hearing that, the savage raised his eyebrows, seemingly judging that conversation could come to flow more smoothly with Reinhardt than Subaru. Regulus redirected his words.
Not bad, that modest attitude. Precisely because people have all sorts of means of communication, if they want a topic to flow in the direction they desire, they have to learn to use these methods effectively. Those who don't understand this, the majority, can only rely on brute force to realize what they strive for. How off-putting. Shouldn't it be clear that matters can be settled through negotiation without requiring a show of strength? Well, people like that aren't impressive in the least. Fellows like that who stand no chance against a pacifist like me, isn't that just nature?
No need to spin it so dramatically. Instead, allow me to listen to your request. Witnessing Emilia-sama's suffering is painful for both me and my friend.
Alright, then I'll say it straightforwardly. Remove the sword from your waist and come stand in front of the altar.
As Emilia's face turned pale, Regulus, in a deliberate motion, hoisted her higher. Her feet dangled in midair, and her sword of ice clattered to the ground. Faced with that display, Reinhardt hesitated no longer. He freed the dragon's sword from his waist and handed it to Subaru.
In case of emergency, I'll draw this sword and cut down that bastard!
That is quite the idea, but regrettably, I doubt you would be able to unseat it either. Rest assured, I will rescue Emilia-sama.
Concluding their whispered conversation, Reinhardt complied with Regulus's orders. The Sword Saint stood unarmed in the middle of the temple, stopping when Regulus commanded.
Stop here.
There were only about 5 meters left between the two, but, to Reinhardt, that distance could be traversed in an instant. And yet, the issue lay in how Regulus currently held Emilia in his hands, and would break her neck the second Reinhardt drew near. And yet, they had to grasp the true nature of Regulus's invincible authority. Freeing himself from Emilia's prison and setting off a path of destruction with unknown means, somewhere in those actions lay the principle behind his invincibility. Holding his breath, Subaru monitored Reinhardt's movements carefully. At this moment, unable to find an opportunity to break the stalemate, he could only rely on Reinhardt. Eager as he was to leap into action, he knew that there was nothing he could do to solve it.
As you wish, I will stop here. What next?
Let me kill you. Isn't it easy? It's a little cliche, I think so too. I can't feel any sincerity in your idea to step forward for the sake of my wives or this slut. It's not that I want to force you to be unreasonable. I just don't want to be misunderstood as a selfish and self-centered person. I'm just a normal man, satisfied with the simple joys of my everyday life. I do hope you fully understand. So, there's only one condition for me to free the hostages. You stand in this place and bear one strike from me. No defending yourself and no evasion. As long as you do this, I'll free all the hostages. Only then will I forgive that cowardly 2-on-1 attack you set on me.
One strike, yes.
Faced with Regulus's proposal, Reinhardt stroked his chin as he mediated upon it. Watching his thoughtful figure, Subaru mentally shook his head desperately at the absurdity of the proposal. Regardless of how Regulus appeared, the power behind his attacks were obvious. An obscene power which could disintegrate even a building's materials, such that even Reinhardt would not be able to withstand such a strike. Even if he clung to his life, if he were rendered unable to fight, it was impossible to even think about continuing the battle.
I understand. I accept.
However, contrary to Subaru's internal fracas, Reinhardt accepted the condition like it were nothing. Stunned, Subaru watched Regulus nod with approval.
A wise epiphany, I see. You've got my respect. Although you're an enemy who tried to kill my wives, you seem to at least have some basic human humility.
Hang on to hostages, even as some invincible person. And he doesn't feel as if he's in the wrong.
At a glimpse, Regulus and his mellifluous, flowery words were truly disgusting. However, it seemed that Regulus had not heard Subaru's spite, for he kept his hand laid on Emilia's neck and turned his right hand to face Reinhardt.
Reinhardt? You... What are you thinking?
Subaru, as promised. Where I'm lacking, you'll find a way to fill in the gaps, right?
Quit being so discouraging. Even the hardest battle has a chance of being won.
Was the sort of answer that Subaru had been hoping to hear. However, before he had the time to respond, Regulus waved an arm at Reinhardt. He was incapable to see it. Fingertips sliced through the air, as if tossing something at Reinhardt. However, the destruction was invisible. That attack might very well have been something like an unseen hand. But whether that speculation was true or false, it was left unanswered. Reinhardt's figure, which had been standing in front of Subaru, collapsed into a splatter of blood. His bisected body toppled onto the ground, as if struck by an oblique sniping shot, completely absent of its usual fearless temperament. Large volumes of blood flowed forth from Reinhardt's fallen corpse, dyeing the crimson carpet a shade darker. His body trembled like a spring, convulsing in its death throes. Finally, the moment came where even those movements subsided, and the corpse entered a realm of true death. This was Reinhard van Estrea's unquestionable demise.
No matter how a person acted in life, death is a simple matter. Those who've accomplished great feats, those who've committed great sins, death treats them equally, reaping their lives in the same manner. In this world filled with inequality, it's one of the few truly just parts of life.
Having killed Reinhard with only the wave of his hand, Regulus simply shook his head. The murderer wore a serene look, as if this had nothing to do with his own actions.
Precisely because they know that the end will inevitably come, the living must pursue happiness while they live. Therefore, I'm extremely satisfied with the low threshold of my happiness. And if I were greed, it's only because I'm always eager to appreciate what I do have. If I were never satisfied with the amount I have, instead wanting everything, I would never be happy in my life. But fortunately, I was born with a unique gift. The sensibility of finding satisfaction in simple joys.
Holding the arm which had killed Reinhard to his chest, Regulus began to laugh. Then...
My satisfied self wants to hear it. Did you die satisfied? If so, congratulations on your death. If not, then I'm sorry for your loss.
Before the echo of Regulus's mocking words had even faded, Subaru sprang into action with a roar. He grabbed a chair and flung it at Regulus. Faced with that projectile, Regulus slammed it away with a single swipe, as if it were a mere insect. To say that the impact shattered the chair would be an understatement. Having pulverized it, and Regulus stepped away, wearing an expression of showing his displeasure.
Compared to that graceful one, you're really both noisy and crude.
Being a knight without a trace of knightliness happens to be my specialty!
Treading on the carpet stained with Reinhardt's blood, Subaru drew his whip from his waist and directed the tip towards Regulus. In response, Regulus simply made a show of tightening his grip on Emilia's neck as he lifted her.
Are your eyes just for decoration? Can't you see that I have leverage here?
How strange. According to what you promised, you should have liberated the hostages.
The instant he heard that sound, Regulus's face became stricken with horror. Tearing his gaze away from the center of the church, Subaru witnessed a slender figure rising from the pool of blood and felt his throat close with shock.
What?
Divine protection of the Phoenix.
With brevity, Reinhard responded to Regulus's astonishment. The three figures moved as one. Subaru swung his hip and yanked the blonde-haired woman who was hiding behind the altar to safety. Even as her throat was being choked, Emilia kicked her sword of ice over to Reinhard. Reinhard, who had appeared out of nowhere, caught the sword and swung it towards Regulus. With the woman shielded from the line of fire, the Sword Saint, holding the Blade of Frost, hesitated no longer. In the next instant, sound vanished from the world. A brilliant blue light accompanied the shockwave that engulfed the church.
Killing me only makes me stronger.
You're live, my dear.
Oh, so sorry, guys. Pat is just so cool.
Apologies, Pat.
I can't help but imitate him. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll throw on the ReZero Lo-Fi. Give me a second. Okay.
So yeah, that was certainly a thing. Oh man, a lot of action. So I gotta say, Wooloo definitely killed it. That
Yeah.
chapter. We can all agree on that, right?
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. We also should introduce Willow joined us in the chat. So you say hello, Willow.
Hello, that's me. I'm Willow. I'm here in the call. Yay!
And Willow did the amazing Reinhardt art that we saw at the very end. Yay!
Yes, fantastic drawing.
Yes, Willow.
Fantastic drawing worthy of Pat Gurley, if I do say so myself.
Curly.
Yes, thank you.
Also, we are reintroducing Matter because he did not introduce himself well, but he is one of our new project leads who's going to focus on helping manage edits when we get there, which we will be going through in the next couple days now that our audition is closed for our editors. And our internal auditions are still going on for Arc 6. Woo!
Yeah.
Hi there, I'm new.
Hi there, I'm new.
He still just says the same thing. Fair enough. I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Well, what do you guys think of that chapter?
Divine Protection of
I
the
love
Phoenix
it.
is the most badass
Yes.
name for an ability ever. And then the way Pat Curley says it is just so cool. Like, how is this guy not an official anime yet? He's like, Divine Protection of the Phoenix. Like, he's so cool.
Man, he's so good
Divine
in the next
protection of the Phoenix.
The Phoenix.
No,
And then-
No, my bad. Go ahead.
No, you.
No, you can.
No, we're not doing this. You're
Uh,
talking. You're talking.
Okay, while you guys do that, I'm gonna risk ruining things by trying to prep chapter 50 while we do this.
All right, sounds good. Matt, please talk. I forgot what I was going to say.
I was just gonna say, I was actually pretty impressed by Pat. I haven't heard him a lot in the actual chapters, and then when I found out he had like a completely different voice than like his natural voice, I was kind of astounded. So I'm very impressed by his performance, and Wooloo as well. He did a very good job.
Absolutely.
5,
Yeah.
chapter 49.
I remember the live direction
Screen went
for.
black.
Sorry,
Huh.
I did have to set up chapter 50.
Oh.
But it's fine.
Can they still hear us?
Yeah, you're still here. I did do
Okay.
it on audio. I'm just really dumb.
Now
That's
it's
all good.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what was I saying? Oh my god.
I don't know.
I'm so sorry. Arc 5.
Oh, I was
No!
talking about how the session that we did recording these chapters was especially fun. Because Wolf and Wooloo were bouncing off of each other quite a lot. So I think the fun we had shows in both of their performances.
Man.
And Regulus just has a lot of memorable lines here. Like I believe for our audition page for Regulus, pretty much all of the lines were from this chapter because I remember practicing them specifically. So, like, yeah, I feel like if you got a really bad actor for Regulus, it would kind of just ruin everything. So the fact that Wooloo is so proficient in his role makes him likable, whereas like if someone was just like meh at it, I think Regulus would turn into a really just not fun character for first time viewers. So I'm glad we have him, and I'm glad he always gives it his all.
Yes, he always does. And because I had to edit down his audio, I could hear some of the banter in the next chapter. I think all of us were there to record, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the rare occurrence of Kyle's recording in a call with us, I think.
Yeah, and
Pretty.
I still recorded after. Oh, welcome, Drad. Hello.
I just wanted to say, great job, everyone. Seriously.
Yay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Drad.
You should
killed
stay
it,
though.
Wooloo.
You shouldn't
And
join just to say
Reinhard.
that.
Hell yeah.
Arigato.
Hi.
As for the chapter itself, not just, patting ourselves on the back here, the actual story, Dragon Sword Raid didn't activate against Regulus. Was that a shock to anyone when they first read it? Because like when I was reading this, I figured Regulus is literally the character that's made for the sword to be pulled out. Like
Yeah.
I thought that's what Tape was going for, but no, even Regulus, who seems invincible, Raid is not gonna come out. So
Not worthy.
you can only imagine what threats in the future are gonna come up to make him pull out that damn thing, right?
So this is a little bit of a lost bit from Arc 4 web novel. Early on in Arc 4 web novel, they mention, I think it's Roswell mentions it. Greed, the Archbishop of Greed, was spotted in Wallachia, and he somehow destroyed an entire city. And that is what we have to go off of for his power prior to encountering him here in Arc 5. So the fact that Reed will not be drawn against him, that is a weird thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like personally with the sword read, while I think power level definitely has something to do with whether it'll be drawn or not, I feel like, I don't know, because we obviously don't know too much about it. I feel like it has to do with the type of person they're going up against. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like worthiness is a very subjective term in my opinion, and obviously power level matters, but let's just say, I mean, Regulus is he's Regulus, right? So
He's a shallow individual.
yeah,
The sword
would
doesn't
the
deem
sword
him a
really-
personality
yeah,
worthy of it.
I kind of think that may also be a factor in it. That's actually when I was reading that's when that thought popped up in my head, because originally I did think it was just how powerful a foe was, but that did kind of make me think, oh, maybe it's a little more than that, which I found interesting.
Yeah, we did see him pull it out against Puck, right? In the trial in Arc 4.
He did.
And I
Oh,
think that's
yeah.
the only time.
So
That's
far,
true.
Puck is the only one. Screw Elsa, screw Regulus.
And Puck, we all meme on Puck, but Puck has the best intentions. So Reinhard was going against someone who's always had good intentions. So I guess like it can't just be like a villainous villain who doesn't have any sense of like pride of honor, like Regulus or anyone like that. So yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah, MC brought that up. Yeah, it depends on your opponent's character. I tend to agree with that, I'd say.
So it's kind of like the sword itself is a personality then.
Yeah, at least I'm pretty sure that's how the author Tepe tries to portray it, at least. And I believe someone actually did mention that he pulled it out against another person, but I don't know if that would be a spoiler or not technically. So
Yeah, I can't say much
that, but-
because now I've read into some of the Estrella background when I've read that.
Now I'm kind of
side
disappointed that a sword doesn't talk and has symbionts in the show. That'd be pretty funny.
Oh my god, that would be like Excalibur from Soul Eater. How
Hello.
annoying.
And Excalibur from Sonic and the Black Knight.
Oh my god.
Indeed.
Who knows? We haven't seen Reinhardt's POV. Who knows? The author did say it was a giant spoiler.
Oh
So-
no.
Maybe he does talk. It's just inside his
That,
head.
that would be awesome. I'd love to predict that.
I actually think that might be the case.
That
With the sword
might, now that
talking
you
to
mention
Reinhard.
it.
Yeah, because we've heard the guilty law talk in Arc 4, so
Oh,
it's
really?
not that out of the realm of possibility. We've seen its internal thoughts. So did give it to a sword too? Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? Oh, hello, Perf. Welcome. Your artwork is coming up next.
Hype, hype, hype.
Hype, hype, hype.
Og.
So
Ah, nice.
what was your guys' favorite moment from this chapter? Would you say? I mean, it's obvious to go with the fact that Reinhardt's still alive and he shows off his whatchamacallit, his divine protection. But
Mhm. I think
I'm-
my favorite thing, which nobody heard, was there's a part in Wooloo's recording that was unedited where he's like full on screaming and calling Emilia a whore and stuff, and then immediately after Wooloo goes, was that good enough? Was that okay?
wait, that was in the reading, but no one heard it.
Yeah. Well,
Oh my God.
I need to make a blooper reel, so once I make that.
He's literally like, ah! Was that good enough?
Was that okay?
Oh, jeez.
It was.
It was amazing.
I think my favorite moment was probably, and I don't know if it was just the way Wolf said it, when Regulus was going on his whatever he talks about.
Tirade.
Whatever he does. Subaru, he sounded really pissed off. He got a lot more pissed off than I actually imagined with his sort of, like, I know he gets pissed off a lot, but
Mhm.
with this specifically, I feel like Subaru would have sort of understood Regulus was a little wacko, but he took it in a different way than like he understood, but he got angry at the fact, which was interesting to me since I didn't think Subaru was the type of person to get angry at that.
Mhm.
But I thought that was interesting, and I liked that part of the chapter too. Aside from Reinhard coming back like a badass.
It's cool.
It may not have been specifically like conveyed through the text that much that he was that angry, but I decided to give him that like grittier tone to it because from my perspective, it's like Subaru is a patient person for like the people that he loves and stuff, but when it comes to like villains, he's not gonna like just take this crap like just standing there and like being fine with it. No, he's gonna get annoyed that this is going on. He has Emilia in a wedding dress. I mean, come on, this man's gonna get a little angry and fed up at some point.
It's kind of cool. Oh, go ahead, Willow.
Can we talk about the budget RBD? It's so funny to me. 'Cause it's so epic, but then you look at Subaru over there, it's so funny.
Recording that line, I recorded it like 6 times. So for the Patreon stuff for this month, I did a self-taping of me recording that. I recorded that line like 6 times. I wanted her to sound so absolutely ruthless when she was like, "Oh, Subaru, why are you so distraught? Like, what's happening? Reinhard just saved me and died. Ooh. What's wrong with you?
Pain.
Are you just jealous, Subaru?
Pain without love. We should have added the 3 Days Grace song to that scene for like 5 seconds. Make it really funny.
So good. Oh yes, but from before, I really like what you brought up, Matter, because I think a lot of us have brought a lot of our own personality into our characters, which is kind of nice to see, because we all have a bit of a deviance, while also still maintaining the character, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, we're edgy.
Edgy.
Oh yeah, no, that actually reminds me. I was gonna say earlier. I feel like with dubs in general. So kind of going back to the point where you said they were bouncing off each other really well. I think what makes a good performance, like what separates a good performance, like compared to like, yeah, you can be talented, but it's not exactly like super believable in a way. I don't know how to say it, but I feel like if someone's having fun and they're bouncing off each other, it sounds way more natural. And so I like that, especially incorporating your own personality into it, which I think helps the sort of naturalistic part of the performance come out as well. So I think it's definitely good that it's more of a fun thing, and rather than just trying to get the lines down perfectly.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing in my opinion. So
Yeah, we're a bunch of clowns when we record.
Yeah.
We don't slap people with rulers and be like, get the line right. We literally will not record a line for like 20 minutes to go on some tangent. So
I know.
that-
I edited so much dead air between Wooloo and Wolf yesterday.
yeah,
Ah!
maybe we slack off a bit too much, but it makes the final product worth it in the end.
Hell yeah.
So something
So-
Gojo.
Yeah,
Oh.
Gojo mentioned.
Ooh.
Yeah, Gojo mentioned the Regulus doesn't actually really know who Reinhardt is. He just says it's sort of passing knowledge that there is a sword saint. There's no.
yeah,
He doesn't
it goes
recognize
to show he's
Reinhardt.
very self-absorbed in a way. Not in a way. He's very self-absorbed. And
Mhm.
he does not really care about what happens outside of his own little bubble. Just goes to show why Regulus is such an awesome guy.
Why he's based.
Yeah, why he's
Based.
completely based.
The Chad Regulus versus the Virgin Natsuki Subaru. That's the story of ReZero.
Woo!
I mean, honestly, yeah, basically.
Regulus for main character.
Honestly,
Oh my
I
gosh.
would like to see that.
Oh, I would love some, like, I don't know, side stories just from his perspective or something.
I mean,
Regulus is
just-
a high school slice of life protagonist. with a
Yes.
harem.
Just one chapter, please.
I still
Chapter
want
No,
us to make
Otto
that
Otto
series.
needs that role. SMH.
I want us all to
Regulus
have
Otto
that
is
seems
the
like
main
series.
he's doing
protagonist.
some pretty interesting stuff. I mean, he's just chilling Valekia, like wrecking some shit. I mean, I'd
Feeling
like
like
to
a
see that.
villain.
Woo woo.
I think that'd be pretty cool to see. But who knows whether we'll get that or not.
Any
Well,
closing?
Well, anyway, everyone excited to get to chapter 50?
Just about to say.
We got a
any
long one
closing-
on our hands.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I am super excited.
Heck, can you guys not
Hell
hear me?
yeah.
Ugh, they can't once.
Heck yeah.
Kyles isn't. Kyles is not
Hello?
excited for chapter 50. She worked way too hard on it and she is just tired.
I was wondering why you kept talking over me. I was like, oh, you can't hear me. Ah, yikes.
Oh,
Yeah,
we
no.
could.
Oh,
No, I couldn't.
okay.
No,
Wow.
I'm kidding. Yeah, I'm
You're
kidding. I'm kidding. No.
Fucking
Okay.
troll. troll- la- 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 la. Oh.
Everyone's gonna have to bear with me for a minute as I switch the chapters because I finished editing it during 49. So you're gonna hear a bit of 49 as I transfer it over. I apologize. Everyone can keep talking as we enter the chaos.
Alright.
All right.
But it'll
Sounds
just take
good.
but
5,
a moment.
Chapter 49.
So,
Thus
sorry.
opens a
Everyone
crusade
in the
against
chat,
greed.
put down what your favorite ReZero OST is. I'm
Arc
curious.
5, Chapter 50.
Because we have been having to listen to the soundtrack over and over, and we all have our favorites at this point. So I'm curious what the chat's favorite track is. Not
My
just using the
favorite
chapter,
is-
just in general.
Octo Awakening.
Ooh.
Of Heroes Awakening. I love it so much.
Mm.
I love that one.
To become happy.
Oh,
That's the one from Garfield's trial
yes.
when he's talking to small Frederica.
Owie. My favorite's Take Care, which I think is from Parent and Child. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cry.
Does Take Care play when, like, literally when she says take care?
Yeah.
I assume it,
Yep.
okay.
That's the one.
It's
My favorite, and Matt's apparently also, is the one where Subaru sees Emilia in the trial. I don't know what it's called, but that song just like
Called out by your
elevates me.
voice.
Yeah, called out by your voice.
Yes.
That elevates me to another like universe because of just how serene it all feels.
Yeah.
Season
I-
2's OST is probably the only thing I think improved from season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, yeah. No, it had a really, like, insanely good OST. The composer is like, yeah, I think
True,
there
yeah.
are, like, better composers out there, but he's still a top-notch composer. Like, I feel lucky to have, like, he makes the moments, like, in the anime sometimes. He's the sole reason I'm not ingrained into the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Music is a very important aspect, and I'm really glad that we have a composer like him in the series.
I see Door. in this lineup.
Da 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 da.
Which eventually coming. I swear, I just need to record it. I need more brain cells and more time. But it's all set up.
Loved more.
You'll get it. You'll get it.
Yeah. Well, I even got my roommate to do the music for it. So.
Wow.
Yeah. I just gotta make time. All right, friends. Are we ready for chapter 50?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do it to it.
Alrighty.
I'll rejoin later.
Okay, goodbye.
Arc 5, Chapter 50, The Shackles of Love. When the aurora faded and Subaru's vision returned to him, the state of the cathedral had completely changed.
Oh, I know I've said this before.
Witnessing that scene with his own eyes, Subaru took a soft breath. In order to avoid inhaling the scattered dust particles and wood chips, he covered his mouth with his sleeve. Standing inside the church, now exposed to the air outside, bathed in the evening breeze, Subaru stomped on the floor and jabbed a finger at the man in front of him.
Sure enough, this guy's a damn monster!
In the face of Reinhardt's apparent aberrance, Subaru could not help but frustratedly bury his face into his hands. Reinhardt returned him a wry smile as the sword of ice in his right hand shattered and dissipated. Although it had only been swung once, being able to withstand the Sword Saint's might indicated that its durability was deserving of praise. The one who had made that sword, Emilia, was currently being embraced by Reinhardt's left arm. In that instant, he had freed Emilia's neck from Regulus's grasp, keeping her safe. As a result, Regulus was the only one who had suffered that bombardment. Aside from that initial blow, everything seemed to have worked out.
Oh, on that note, what a close call we had. Hey, are you okay?
The object of his concern was the woman he had yanked out of danger earlier, just as Reinhardt had, before chaos had fallen. Although the golden-haired woman was rather beautiful, her empty eyes and expressionless face gave off a foreboding air. Sure enough, the shock of the situation had gotten to her, was Subaru's thought, and so he met the eyes of the woman as she sat.
Sorry if we surprised you, but in order to take advantage of his weaknesses, we didn't really have any other choice. If you're hurt anywhere, tell us, and we can fix you up.
Although Subaru called out to her, she still gave no reaction. The situation was worrying indeed, but he couldn't worry about just her and her alone. Leaving the woman sitting still on the spot, he strode towards the altar, or rather, where the altar had once stood. This place, which strongly resembled what Subaru knew as a church, had been completely desecrated by Reinhardt. The front of the building, where the altar and the corridor leading to a side room had once been located, had all been demolished in the wake of the supernova. All that had barely survived were the very edges and the back of the building. Fortunately, due to the protection of Emilia's wall of ice, the seated women had remained untouched. Subaru ran where Emilia and Reinhardt were standing near the crumbling altar. Stepping out of Reinhardt's arms, Emilia immediately gave a pained cough.
Emilia-tan, are you okay?
I'm fine. It's just that my throat feels itchy.
How are you? Did anything strange happen? Did that creep lick your face or anything? And this wedding dress is spectacular! Did he put it on you? Damn that fucker! I won't let him go! Oh, but this dress is truly amazing! Oh, no matter what you wear, you look cute, Emilia-tan!
Subaru, calm down a bit. I can't quite figure out what you want to say.
Faced with the frantically concerned Subaru, Emilia retreated gently. Looking at his distressed appearance as he carefully is certain that she was safe and sound, Emilia sighed with a smile.
Right. Thank you for coming to save me. I knew all along you'd come.
I also knew that Emilia-tan would believe in me and wait for rescue. But if I'd crashed the wedding even a little later, who knows what could have...
It doesn't matter. I wouldn't have married him. If I were to marry, it would have to be someone I like.
That's great! Really reassuring. Then, This person you like?
Reinhard, your injury. How is it?
Just as Subaru prepared to go on an offensive strike, Emilia caught sight of Reinhard and cried out at him. Seeing Emilia's interest in Reinhard where it mattered, Subaru paused and scowled. Reinhard, who had saved Emilia. Unexpectedly, he had sustained quite the heavy injury. The front of the white clothes had almost been exaggeratedly torn and stained entirely with red. Witnessing this explosive scene, Emilia sucked in a cold breath.
Oh, how brutal. Are you sure this is fine?
Yes. What a grievous wound. Let me take a look. I'll heal you.
Thank you, but do not worry about it. The wound has begun to heal.
Responding to the fretting, flustered pair with a smile, Reinhard wiped at the blood with his own white sleeves. And on his clean chest, the traces of the injury were indeed disappearing. The wound was completely gone, leaving only Reinhard's pristine skin.
The wounds vanished? Hey! What happened just now? You hid it even from me! Did you sneakily hide some blood packets on your person or something?
And by just now, you mean?
Stop putting on airs! Or are you being for real right now? Just now, with the Regulus hostage situation, I didn't know how you planned to deal with it, so I just watched silently. But how did you survive? Oh, just tell me already!
Let me put it this way. Watching silently was a huge help. Thanks for taking care not to set him off.
Even faced with Subaru's impatience, Reinhard responded in an even tone. Thinking that he was just trying to maintain a lighter atmosphere, Subaru sighed.
I just thought that since it's you, there must have been some trick up your sleeve. But seeing you fall in that shower of blood had me thinking you were really dead. Oh, how terrifying.
Even so, you reacted in time. I am very happy you had such faith in me.
Who told you to give this dramatic speech on shortcomings and whatnot?
He lightly knocked Reinhard's shoulders, responding to that guilelessness with coarse words. Listening into their conversation, Emilia's eyes widened with surprise.
Huh? Only with those words? You worked that entire scheme out?
Emilia-tan, you passed the ice sword to Reinhard too, didn't you?
That really was a huge help. Not having a weapon on hand and having to strike his body directly was an uneasy notion for some reason. But I am glad that it worked out.
Yup. It ended with half the building collapsing. Please take responsibility for that. Oh, well, this also counts as a survival flag.
Having had numerous encounters with Elsa in the past, Subaru could not be too optimistic. Now, while talking like this, the Regulus alarm inside his brain was not slacking around.
So, Reinhard, the correct answer to the mystery of the scene is... Did you use an avatar? Ooh! It could not be some kind of cloning technique. Oh, please don't tell me that in addition to being a knight, you're a ninja as well.
Although I do not know what a ninja is, I am sure it is not such a huge mystery. This divine protection of the Phoenix is just a blessing that can be used to revive the dead. So, your observation that I looked like I was dead was correct. I was just a little bit dead.
Just a little bit dead my ass? Did that mess you up? Or are you just an idiot?
Being met with such an unexpected answer sent Subaru into another frenzy. Dying under the divine protection of the Phoenix or whatnot, wasn't that just making a mockery of death? Those words were better left unsaid to Subaru. Or, rather, perhaps it was better to say that only Subaru could speak like that.
What are you doing? Stealing my niche and all that?
My apologies, but at the time I felt that it was the most effective way to deal with the Sin Archbishop. And it did in fact work rather smoothly. But if possible, I would prefer to avoid dying again.
Dying in order to save only me? I can't help but feel guilty. Subaru, what's with that painful expression?
Struck by the force of her reply, the psychological burden of those words was quite something. Moreover, it seems that this dialogue could continue no further.
Subaru,
Understood.
Narrowing his blue eyes, Reinhard called for Subaru. The latter raised his head at the call, and Emilia glanced toward the place Reinhard was looking. The Predator, emitting an ominous aura, filled their line of sight. He stood atop the collapsed remains of the church, overlooking the other three. White hair, white clothes, and a blank expression. This Predator, made of white, snorted and spoke.
Leaving me out and just bantering and laughing in a place like this. Speaking of which, how can you stand to maintain an air of normalcy? Isn't that too inhumane? Unless you felt like you've just stepped on an ant or something? Is blowing me away no different from stepping on a bug? What's up with that?
As he fanned the flames of his own exaggerated outrage, Regulus leapt from the smoldering wreckage to the remains of the cathedral. As he landed, he straightened out the coat of his white suit, brushed at the sleeves of his shirt, and readjusted the legs of his matching trousers before turning to his narrowed gaze upon them. His body was unchanged from Reinhardt's blow. Whether injury or filthiness, neither showed even a trace of his form.
I see. As I had heard from Subaru, you truly are a strange opponent.
Just now, the Synarch Bishop that you mentioned. Subaru. He's the one?
Regarding him, Reinhardt and Emilia each offered their own input. Hearing this, Regulus turned a spiteful glare upon Emilia.
That's right. I am a Synarch Bishop of the Witches Cult, representing Greed. Regulus Corneus. Speaking of which, you tried to go through a wedding ceremony without knowing even the identity of the one you're marrying. This is a problem that precedes not having an awareness of being a wife. Impudent, immoral, incompetent! Really, your deficiency as a woman knows no bounds, honestly!
Incompetent and whatnot? You didn't tell me anything at all. Imprudent and immoral are also groundless. And you're from the witch cult? Witch cult? Witch cult?
Faced with the resentfully cursing Regulus, Emilia was about to refute his points before she suddenly sank into silence. Her hand on her head, Emilia's eyebrows lifted as if she were thinking hard.
A Synarch Bishop of the witch cult. You have met me before?
Huh? How would I know? Although, right now, if you were to say that our meeting was fate, that would just be a ridiculous farce. Such a face of rare sweetness, but in spirit you're such a degenerate woman who cheats on her man in her mind. How endlessly infuriating! Uah!
The hell are you rambling on aimlessly about, you moron?
Aiming at the face of Regulus, endlessly ranting, Subaru flicked his whip. Under that impact, Regulus's face snapped to the side as he snarled with fury. Unsurprisingly, his face bore no trace of the blow at all.
At this point, for real, if we can't solve the mystery of his invincibility, we won't be able to win this.
Whether at close range or from afar, every attack is negated. Even Emilia-sama's magic does nothing to stop him. There has to be some kind of trick to defeating him. Subaru, watch out for yourself, alright?
Why does it sound like you're saying something messed up?
Reinhard patted that confused Subaru's shoulder briefly. Then, he vanished. In the next moment, Reinhard slammed directly into the Predator's torso, sending him sprawling backwards.
Huh? Huh?
With a cry, Regulus, who had no time to brace himself, flew backward and slammed into a mountain of debris, causing it to collapse further and disintegrate.
His opponent will be me. Hopefully you can solve the mystery of his invincibility as quickly as you can. I shall buy time for you.
Right. Buying time's nice and all. But wouldn't it be better if you just defeated him in one fell swoop?
If I could, I would have done so already. Take these women to safety. If they remain here, they will be dragged into the battlefield.
Wait, Reinhard! Although you might not be able to use it a lot, take this.
Calling out to stop Reinhard in his tracks was Emilia, holding a sword of ice, freshly shaped by her magic.
I've been concentrating really hard to make this, so it should be a little more durable than the last one.
My thanks is inexpressible.
Accepting her preferred blade, Reinhard offered her his ceremonious gratitude in return. Then he leapt and leapt away from the ruins of the church, following Regulus. In a single step, he vanished from Subaru's field of vision, crossing an impossible distance. Immediately following his disappearance, a shockwave slammed into Subaru's skin. As he bathed in the feeling, he turned to look at Emilia.
Emilia-tan! So they avoid getting caught up in Reinhardt's battle. For the time being, please get these women somewhere safe. They all have to leave. Speaking of which, are they all Regulus's wives?
Both now and before, the uniformity of the women trapped in the wall of ice felt unnatural. Did their status as Regulus's wives make all of them members of the witch cult? At a glance, there were more or less 50 of them. If they attacked as one, how could Subaru handle them without Beatrice's help? Only now had he begun to worry. However, Emilia shook her head, denying Subaru's anxiety.
It's fine. Although they're his wives, I think most of them are only here through force and coercion. So, don't worry.
Yeah, that's alright then. If they were a threat, Reinhardt wouldn't have overlooked. Watch out! Oh, fuck! Shrapnel started flying everywhere! Oh, how dangerous!
Outside the cathedral, Reinhardt and Regulus had engaged in a battle that resided far beyond the limits of humanity. The wreckage and stone fragments, swept away by various impacts, flew with the momentum of a bullet. If he were to be struck by one, there was no guarantee that he would stay intact. Although Reinhardt had an overwhelming advantage when it came to offense, as long as the nature of Regulus's authority remained a mystery, their advantage would amount to nothing. Subaru needed to come up with a countermeasure before the villain changed aims.
Hey, are you okay? You're not injured anywhere, are you?
During his moment of reflection, Emilia had started shaking the blonde woman by the shoulders. That was the same woman Subaru had rescued earlier using his whip. Based on her position in front of the altar, she seemed to have a unique status among the others. However, her expression was just as blank, bearing not even the faintest trace of emotion. Looking up at Emilia, the woman shook her head slowly.
We must stay here. If you want to escape, please take care.
Stay? Why? Are your legs injured? Then I'll heal you right away. Just this wall of ice isn't enough to keep you all safe. We have to leave soon.
Please allow me to refuse. Only you can leave this place.
Why? You'll be caught in the battle if you stay here. Regulus will attack anything he wants to, regardless of your presence. Please, hurry and come with us.
Husband Sama did not instruct us to leave.
Emilia's desperate persuasion was interrupted by the woman's cold voice, conveying her feelings, equally devoid of warmth. Her cold, frozen gaze met Emilia's own amethyst eyes.
Not listening to Husband Sama will make him angry. If that happens, there will be only one possible result.
That's not...
Subaru shared Emilia's exasperation. To call the woman determined would be wrong, for she had no selfhood. To call the woman unwavering would be wrong, for she had no resolve. Her speech and attitude spoke of a resignation that had long become inescapable. She, or rather, they, had given up long ago. Those hearts, shattered by Regulus, could no longer consider anything other than him. This was a cursed brutality, which no longer required words or actions.
Regulus's opponent is the Sword Saint Reinhardt. I know you're terrified of Regulus, but Reinhardt's not going to have any issue killing him. So, don't stay here. There's no need to endanger your lives.
It does not matter who the opponent is. Sword Saint, please do not make me laugh. How could anyone match Husband Sama? Match Regulus Corneus?
The woman dismissed Subaru's reassurances with naught but contempt. This was the first time that she had shown any form of genuine emotion. The scornful dismissal of an adult, looking down upon a child's ignorant delusion. Only then did Subaru understand the true nature of this distorted relationship. The wives of Regulus Corneus had absolute faith in their husband's strength. The shackles of a curse that no one and no thing could remove, that unwavering trust. Even the knowledge that his opponent was the Sword Saint Reinhard did nothing. The unparalleled, overwhelming power Regulus possessed held complete dominion over the hearts of his wives. The wife trusted her husband, and the husband maintained a firm grip on his wife's heart. In a sense, it was the ideal state of a relationship. But that serene surface gave way to permanent distortions of the deeper aspects.
Damn it.
Subaru came to the painful realization that mere words could not move them. The women before him all unanimously believed this. The lack of dissent and dead silence only served to prove so. To force them to leave would take nothing less thorough than knocking all of them out and moving them one by one. But they couldn't afford to undertake such action.
Reinhard, change of plans! Execute Operation S!
Dispelling the idea of persuading the women, Subaru climbed atop the collapsed tower and called out to Reinhard, who was currently defying the law of gravity as he dashed across the side of a building, in the streets of the city where night had begun to fall. Reinhard flickered his eyes to the side, towards Subaru.
Doing Operation S first. Subaru, have you ensured the women's safety?
Huh? The hell? Where's that sound coming from?
This is the divine protection of telepathy, which can spread my voice to allies within a certain range.
Could you stop being so bloody superhuman?
To Subaru, who could not conceal the shivers it provoked him, Reinhard's behavior seemed beyond human understanding. Running and kicking off of a wall, Reinhard flew into the air and spun rapidly. The instant before he landed, he allowed his clothing to spread, slowing down his momentum, and swung his slender legs to send a blade of wind slicing towards the ground. Sweeping up bolt dust and bricks from the pavement, the wave slammed directly into the predator waiting at its destination. Regulus's figure, unable to stay standing, was blown away once again.
That murder circus just now, what was it?
He attacks by throwing stones or sand. There is no gap of safety between the particles being scattered around, so I have to pass between them.
To me, that sounds more like dodging rain. More importantly, move the battlefield. Those women won't move. They're so terrified of Regulus they don't dare to.
I see. Understood. Then, allow me to try.
Lowering his voice, Reinhard approached Regulus with a light jump. Climbing to his feet once again, Regulus stomped on the ground, sending pieces of wood and grains of sand flying. However, with the most minimum of movements, Reinhard evaded and drew Emilia's ice sword, using it to send Regulus's body flying to the skies above once more. The screaming of the villain and the crisp sound of the shattering ice blade overlapped.
Subaru! Wait! What are you planning to do?
Lead that bastard away from here. Wow, Emilia Tan is bold.
This dress is pretty, but really inconvenient.
Standing in Subaru's line of sight was Emilia, who had yanked away part of her dress. The more restrictive parts of her white wedding dress had been daringly torn open, revealing more of Emilia's white thighs than any mortal should have been able to see in an enticing sight. However, the difficulty of moving in that clothing had been lowered.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, what do you want Reinhard to do?
A plan we thought of before the battle. Since we don't know what the true extent of Regulus's authority is, we'll have to test possible weaknesses, one by one.
Emilia nodded as Subaru retrieved Reinhard's beloved sword from one corner of the cathedral. Then, he and Emilia rushed straight towards Reinhard's battlefield.
Ah! Bastard! Quit jumping up and down!
Cursing loudly, Regulus waved both his arms up and down. His target was Reinhard, who zigzagged rapidly back and forth, and his weapon was the plentiful gravel laying about. Normally, bits of gravel could only serve to blind an opponent, and the character of those who used it as a weapon was unworthy of praise. But if Regulus were the wielder, the power of this despicable tactic would skyrocket. Buildings began to crumble where the gravel came into contact with them, and the surrounding scenery fell into ruination. Watching this cataclysmic destruction unfolding in front of him, Reinhard launched into a dramatic evasion. He lowered his body as if he were planning to drop into a crawl and sped into motion. Contrary to his seemingly unsightly appearance, he was moving so fast that he had ventured beyond the reach of an ordinary person. And thus, Regulus, who was no different from an ordinary person, had no way of catching up to him.
Damn! Hey! Where'd you run off to, looking like a bug?
Faced with the threat of losing his target, Regulus attacked all directions indiscriminately. The rising of goosebumps on skin was a sure sign that whatever was approaching would be terribly dangerous. A survival instinct everyone was born with, warning against enemies close at hand. In actuality, that had little to do with the presence of a clear threat. Any living creature was susceptible to this feeling, and Regulus was no exception. The tingling of his nerves all throughout his body tipped him off that something was wrong. Only that this incredible threat was approaching from all directions, an oppressive ring of menace.
You bastard! What in the world are?
I am but a knight to Phantaminum, a royal candidate. Please also be sure to give her all your support.
Huh?
A voice so steady that might or might not have been a joke. A shocked Regulus took a sharp impact on his head. Perhaps it was smashed by steel. The weapon had been bent completely out of shape, and a squeaking sound indicated that it had been cast aside. Humiliated, Regulus glared at the ground as he bit his lip. With crisp footwork that prevented ease of attack, Reinhard assumed his stance. The offensive and defensive abilities of both the Sword Saint and Greed, their superiority were clear to both parties in the confrontation. Exerting conventional combat power, the strength of Reinhard, which could toy with even the deadliest of Sin Archbishops, could not be said to be of this world. But even so...
The one to win will be me. Can't you understand? Although I have no clue how well you've been doing with this violent power that you can only think of oppressing others, you, whose happiness is built upon the sacrifice of others, will be stopped here! With this power, how many people's lives have you trampled upon? That greed really is despicable.
That really is distressing to hear. It is true that, because of me, some have lost sight of their happiness. Without question, the reason why I do what I do is none other than for the sake of atonement.
In the face of Regulus's ridiculous rhetoric, Reinhardt's eyes narrowed slightly. Seeing the Sword Saint's responsive movement, Regulus widened his own.
The hell is this? Some kind of you don't need to say it because I already know ploy? I'm aware of my sins? I'm aware, so I'm trying to fix my bad qualities, I tell you? So it's an attempt to let it all be water under the bridge? Jokes can only go so far. No one's holding any expectations to what you'll do in the future. All that matters is what you've done in the past. Your feet were trampling on the ground where someone licked your souls. To such a person, whether you help tens of thousands or hundreds of millions of people, it's all meaningless. Sinner, just die. You, able only to beg of others. Stop pretending to be a good person already!
I really do get the feeling of being shown a mirror when talking to you. This must be the reason why Subaru told me to avoid seriously lending an ear to you.
Speaking of which, that guy over there, is that this Subaru? The rapist bastard who snatched my bride from me? Even if she ended up being a dirty whore, his transgression can never be forgiven. To those who try to take what belongs to others, due punishment is... What?
Halfway through his triade, Regulus's world suddenly spun upside down. At that moment, Reinhardt had dropped his stance and grabbed Regulus's left ankle, spinning him around. A rotating field of violent destruction, Regulus's back hit a wall. Under that impact, a shower of dust scattered as Regulus's body, still being spun around by his momentum, crashed through and collapsed a building.
Although direct contact with you feels rather dangerous, but I'll try to get it over with as soon as possible.
What? Are you doing this so you can call him a friend? What a nauseating fake show of hypocrisy. Your debased self naturally has no decent friends. With someone known as a rapist, sharing a friendship is...
Dealing with you really is unbearable. Doubly so when you slander my friends.
the wind suddenly wrapped around their bodies, and the sense of rapid rising followed closely. If you were to take a glimpse, the figures of the two would be suspended in the midst of a night sky, and right next to them, the full moon shines brightly. At that place, where the light of the moon lay within reach, Regulus clicked his tongue.
So, it's not a matter of strength at all. Dropping me from such a height will end this. You can't truly be naive enough to believe that. Are you playing me for a fool?
Indeed, I could try slamming you down with force and lodging you in the earth. But you will have to deal with something else.
What are you?
In midair, without a single foothold, Reinhard alternated between drifting up and down by shifting his body slightly. Regulus, still being gripped by his foot, was subjected to centrifugal force, and, still being swung by Reinhard, his eyes widened as he glanced downward.
No way.
What's coming seems to be known as the first wave. I hope that I will not see you again afterwards.
It was a rare, sarcastic line from Reinhard, but Regulus had no leeway to pay attention to it. Reinhard, with all of his might, swung Regulus downward at once, whipping through the air. Regulus's dense form sped into the canal directly beneath him with the momentum of a bullet. Regulus, bathed by the wind, could only watch as the surface of the canal approached.
The only threat is the water.
Rotating as he sailed downwards, Regulus stretched out his hands, intending for them to slam into the water. The unprepared Reinhard, hovering defenselessly in the sky, would follow in a moment. Then, that calm face of his could be shattered in a single blow.
Emilia! Do it!
Alhuma!
Hearing the voices of that hateful man and woman, the corner of his eye barely caught a sight of that detestable pair. A black-haired boy gesturing with a finger, and a silver-haired girl who chanted quietly. In that next moment, falling from above Regulus, were icicles shooting forward at a speed which matched his momentum. The icicles caught his limb by way of the sleeves on his suit, accelerating his fall. Further, the last one slammed directly into his back, freezing his body solid. A total of 5 icicles restrained Regulus's extremities, using his body as a freezing point as it plummeted into the canal. Immediately, a magical, freezing hand stretched forward, centering on where Regulus had fallen, tracing the flow of the water. The canal was turned into an icy tomb, without so much as a single opening.
Operation Splash, nicknamed Operation S, was a complete success!
I hope this was effective.
Next to Subaru, who gazed into the frozen waterway, landed Reinhard, cloaked in the moonlight. After having thrown Regulus from the sky, the trajectory of that fall should have meant that he wouldn't be able to avoid the falling water, but in fact, even a single droplet brushing him would have been a miracle. That Reinhard could move so well in midair, it was hardly even surprising.
Stealing his range of movement and tossing him into the water, and then freezing it afterwards? There's no way he'll resurface again. Is there?
From Reinhard's other side, Emilia stared into the water. The one who had drawn up the battle plans had been Subaru, and the one who had facilitated them had been Reinhard. However, Emilia had been the one who pushed Regulus the most. Even if the other party had been an unreasonable murderer, Emilia still wore a rather timid expression. If everything proceeded smoothly, he soon would be naught but a drowned corpse. Emilia felt that she had gone too far, and this feeling was not without reason. Gazing to his side at Emilia, Subaru crossed his arms in consideration. Though he felt rather sorry for her, to have Regulus drown was the best outcome. If that were not possible, leaving him in a state mirroring death would be best. However, the worst possibility must also be expected. For example,
Reinhard!
when, right in front of their eyes, the ice's surface cracked, and immediately after, a jet of water spouted up, blasting straight towards them. At the sight of the gushing water, Regulus grabbed both Subaru and Emilia as the jet of water closed in on them. His arms wrapped around their waists, he jumped backwards in one leap. After they were well out of reach of the droplets of water, Reinhard narrowed his eyes.
It seems that it has yet to be settled.
Right. On that note, this guy, He's really bad news.
Reinhard and Subaru had each fixated on something different. While Reinhard was watching the figure standing atop a drifting piece of ice, Subaru was looking at the outcome that had been caused by the jet of water, which that figure had miraculously unleashed. Water droplets flew about, pouring down near where Subaru and the others were standing. The outcome was nothing so charming as the pitter-patter stopping and just dampening the earth below. Each part of the spray bored thoroughly into the earth, craving the ground as if biting with the force of a gigantic beast. Their destructive power was not inferior to that of the stones and sand thrown by Regulus, which was to say, whether wielding solid or liquid, Regulus's attack power stayed constant.
His body, it's not frozen at all. Just like what happened at the church.
Muttering this, Emilia looked at Regulus, still perched atop that piece of drifting ice. Subaru had entrusted her with the task of freezing his body and limbs using her magic. As per Subaru's instructions to show no mercy, the icicle pierced right through Regulus's limbs in the center of his body. Such an act should have left him more than half dead. However, when he had fallen into the water, the tip of the icicle had not penetrated his body, and so Regulus had been nearly frozen on the surface, just as he had been in the church. To Regulus, neither freezing nor magic was effective. Like slashes and blunt force blows, he could also invalidate those type of attacks.
Although, when he shrugged off Ralph's flames, I did suspect this a little. I guess that the basic idea of his invincibility being specialised in either physical or magical damage is out of the window. Then...
Were you able to confirm what you wanted with Operation S?
I will have to get a little closer for that.
The moment Reinhard responded, there was a change in the surface of the canal. A vortex appeared on the water's frozen surface, a distance from where the crack was. Gradually, its momentum increased, pulling in the drifting ice which Regulus occupied. And then...
A water dragon!
Leaping from the heart of the maelstrom, the dragon bared its fangs at Regulus, who was standing on top of the ice. Domesticated water dragons usually swam in the waterways surrounding the city. The water dragon, who should have been trained to not attack people, spread its jaws wide, aiming to lunge at Regulus's slender back. Perhaps even that water dragon had been influenced by wrath in no small measure, a tragedy that should never have taken place. However, its jaws did not have a chance to close. Subaru's throat involuntarily clogged up at the gruesome spectacle unfolding before him. What happened in this moment? How could it even be described? The water dragon's maw jerked out of place at the very moment it had clamped down onto Regulus. As if in a game of Daruma Otoshi, the water dragon's lower jaw was dislocated. Keeping its momentum as it flew toward Regulus, its mandible was displaced. A maw which should have dragged Regulus into the canal. However, unable to correct the dislocation, it split in two with a great shudder. The halves of the bisected water dragon poured blood into the water as they were submerged. After a moment, an exaggerated amount of blood and viscera that once been a water dragon floated to the surface. This had been its gruesome demise.
Emilia-sama, if possible, could you make me a spear? A spear of ice, please. I have troubled you.
Faced with the same sight, Reinhard muttered this to the befuddled Emilia. Connecting the dots, she hurriedly focused her mana. After several unsuccessful attempts, eventually Emilia created an ice spear and handed it over to Reinhard. After testing the feel of the weapon he had received...
Excuse me.
Grasping the ice spear, he drew his wrist back to aim at Regulus and let the missile fly. The spear flew true. However, it was not the sharp tip that had been pointed at Regulus. As it turned to its side, its shaft scored a direct hit. But what had happened was that when the shaft of the spear crashed against Regulus, it fell straight into the waterway, broken into two.
What is the meaning of this?
I see. I get it, Reinhard.
Seeing the state of the broken spear, Emilia tilted her head in confusion. From beside her, Subaru grasped the meaning behind why Reinhard had done this, shuddering at its outcome. Hearing Subaru's acknowledgement, Reinhard nodded and said,
Emilia-sama, did you see what happened to the spear upon hitting him?
It broke, right? A spear of ice is different from a real one, so it's natural for it to have broken in two after it struck with that sort of force.
Not quite. The spear did not break. The part of the spear that hit him is missing. The part that hit him is missing separated. The spear was broken not into two, but three.
Reinhardt's explanation served as an answer to what had happened to the spear and with the water dragon. Neither object, upon contact with Regulus, had managed to penetrate his body. With an ordinary barrier, the collision would have caused a projectile to bounce off or shatter from the impact, but neither had happened. Regulus's body literally rejected anything that collided with it.
What cluelessly naive expressions you're all wearing. This is just how it is.
Just as the three reached a consensus, Regulus's voice suddenly reached them from the ice. That calm voice made it sound as if he were just whispering to himself. The instant Subaru thought that, an unpleasant shock hit him in the back.
Understanding. All of you really understand nothing! It's useless! You have no chance! No matter what you do, you can't win! No matter what you strain, you struggle, you can't reach me! Why can't you understand that? I'll say it to you, show it to you, force you to see! You can never understand!
Regulus whispered to himself as he leapt from the ice. Having jumped forward only slightly, his body plummeted into the canal. For a moment, his figure vanished. However, with one hand on the edge of the canal, he pulled himself from the water, climbing back onto the street. Then, once again, he squared his gaze at those who were watching him.
His body isn't wet in the slightest. His breathing remains unchanged. Naturally, the fragments of ice need not even a mention, nor has a single drop of blood splashed onto him. His clothes are completely clean, and no water drips from him.
Observing Regulus, Reinhardt gave Subaru a quick report. Upon hearing that, Subaru nodded and tried to think, even as he suppressed his horror. It seemed that everything he had intended to confirm with Operation S had been checked. However, there was not a trace of good news. It was the worst forecast imaginable.
Subaru, my sword.
Right.
At Reinhardt's request, Subaru quickly handed over the sword that he had been holding all along. As Reinhardt gently tested the handle of his beloved sword, Emilia looked on from the side, wondering timidly.
Can the sword be unsheathed?
No, the handle is still fixed. It seems that it will not indulge me. But there is no other weapon that can be used to confront him.
Since your sword can't be drawn, what are you going to do? Attack him directly with the sheath?
Not exactly, but that's not too far off.
With nary a trace of tenseness in his voice, Reinhardt stepped forward. He placed himself in front of Subaru and Emilia, shielding them from Regulus's line of sight.
Subaru, please allow the task of buying time to be handed over to me. You can continue to decipher his authority.
Feels like the difficulty just rose a level. But I'll do my best.
I'll also do my best.
Then, I will also do my utmost. Go!
As soon as the sound of his voice fell, Reinhardt flew forward. Regulus, who had been kept waiting, met him with only calmness.
I say, did you not see? If not the fate of that lizard, then the spear. Is your imagination truly so lacking?
Only paying attention to a coin by your foot will draw your attention away from what is important. As my master once said.
Reinhardt's sigh, deep and uninterested, overlapped with Reinhardt's opening strike. The sound of muscles and bones being penetrated by something sharp reverberated through the air, and Subaru's throat could not help but stiffen. He watched as Reinhardt gripped the scabbard, slamming his hilt of the sword into Regulus.
Oh, it seems you don't even have a strategy.
The sound of these blows was different from the fate of the water dragon and the ice spear. At least Reinhardt's beloved sword would not break upon hitting Regulus, no matter what he did. However, it did not seem the damage had been inflicted on Regulus. Reinhardt's previous attacks, although dealing no damage, had at least been enough to send him flying. But now, even that effect was lost.
Feel free to brag. You are the second person to force me to use Dragon Sword Reed.
I can't hear anything but belittlement. You're making a complete fool of me, aren't you? That isn't what using a sword is supposed to mean. Such a denigrating gaze, such disparaging words. It's only natural that much is obvious to those who understand.
That's all rather.
As he provoked Regulus, Reinhard weaved in and out of super close combat. Faced with those murderous fingertips, Reinhard evaded with even greater movements. Suddenly, his legs stopped moving. No, they were kept from moving. Reinhard collapsed onto his knees, kneeling in place. His right calf split open, spilling forth copious amounts of blood.
Were you hit? What happened?
Subaru cried out, and Reinhard frowned through his confusion. Neither Subaru, observing from a distance, nor Reinhard, the party concerned, could ever discern what had happened. The solution came from the other fighter, giving a failing mark.
With your inhuman eyesight and reactions, you were able to escape the bits of gravel and water. But you're too naive, aren't you? If you truly want to confront me, prevent me from sighing. You can't, can you? Just now, I sighed.
Even Brett's.
Regulus's relentless kick approached Reinhard, who had fallen to the ground. A direct hit would be an attack enough to rend Reinhard's torso into pieces. Faced with that attack, Reinhard no longer had any time to dodge. Hastily, he quickly lifted the sword in his arms, blocking the blow with its jet black scabbard.
Just what do you think you can do with that annoying scabbard in the way? Clinging to something that you're unworthy of. Why do people like you do such things? I can't understand at all.
With this defensive action, Reinhard's body was sent flying as if he were a toy ball. Although protected from the fatal power of the kick, he crashed through the side of a building nearby, eventually rolling onto the pavement. As Reinhard's body rolled and rolled, the destruction only continued. In that moment, Reinhard's form, sent flying by a kick, became nothing but a bullet.
Right, and now...
Seeing Reinhard off well into the distance, Regulus seemed to remember something as he turned around. Being firmly fixed by that gaze, Subaru immediately tensed up. Emilia, from beside him, immediately chanted magic, and in an instant the sky was covered with a multitude of icicles, which ruthlessly flew towards Regulus. However, the results spoke for themselves.
Women who can't read the situation is just the worst. Having to spend time on disciplining them is a lot of work. However, because women are just ignorant creatures, they must first be taught. That's just how it is. They're much better after they've been tamed, though.
Slamming his body and shattering into shards, those icicles were unable to even make him budge. Languidly, Regulus approached them.
Emilia! Trying to find his juices right now! Anything we do before figuring out his trick won't have any effect!
But...
Right, for now, let's just get the hell out of here!
Seizing Emilia's wrist as she tried to remain stubbornly, Subaru tried to pull her away from Regulus. But Subaru's actions only served to excite Regulus further.
Are you trying to flee? Well, that doesn't surprise me. Now that the situation is like this, where you stand no chance against me, though you should have understood that well before you childishly knocked upon my door. If you want to flee, then flee!
Just what was he thinking? Regulus watches Subaru and Emilia flee with nothing but smile. However, given this chance to escape, they needed to capitalize on it. No matter what, right now, they had no time to even stop or think.
But you'd have to get away first.
Regulus approached the canal. Leaning over, he grabbed and hoisted half of the water dragon's corpse out of the surface of the water. Grabbing its tail, he looked back with a ferocious smile.
Hey, Subaru? I have this feeling of foreboding.
What a coincidence. So do I.
As for what Regulus would do, neither had a single clue. However, every unremarkable action he took had completely extraordinary results. That much was plain as day. Therefore, Subaru and Emilia's pace increased rapidly. Taking his time, Regulus smiled pleasantly as he raised his head, before leaping into motion. He set foot on the roof of an adjacent building, then jumped over to its upper floors, landing on another, taller structure, until he finally reached a building the height of a clock tower. After that period, both parties now stood so far apart each other's faces were the size of beans. However, despite the distance they had gained, Subaru could still make out Regulus's face. He could see that murderous smirk oh so clearly.
Come, if you want to try and hide, see if you can. Whore undeserving of becoming a bride and the mentally raping bastard that cherishes such a woman? For posterity, I'll deliver you to a rain of blood!
Regulus lifted half of the water dragon with both hands and squeezed the corpse mercilessly. The dragon's flesh spilt out with an unpleasant squelch, all of its blood gushing forth, and Regulus swung the blood-soaked remains with glee from his perch up high. Holding the corpse's tail, still drenched in blood as if waving a wet towel, it rotated over his head, endlessly, blood scattered in a halo. Farther, farther, until its momentum brought it to where Subaru and Emilia had run away. Then, the result was...
Subaru!
Run! 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 Run!
This downpour of blood became a rain of destruction, further blightening the city, chasing the pair's figures, forcing them to flee even further.
Of chapter 50. So we got some more friends with us now. We have Phanta, and we also have Quack with us too. You guys are welcome to say hello.
I wonder if Quack is gonna say hello though.
That's okay if not.
Say hello, Quack. Be a nice duck.
Quack,
Peer
quack.
pressure, okay.
There he is.
Yay!
It took me 4 years, but I finally heard his voice.
Wow. Wow.
Crazy. But not as crazy as that chapter was, am I right?
Woo!
Yeah.
We saw Pat Curley in the chat. Fantastic job.
As always.
Fantastic job to Kanda as well. Great job to GC for setting up the audio. Man. Oh, this lo-fi is getting a little loud. Sorry, everybody. I'll link this lo-fi track as well. I'll link them both in the description afterwards. They're ones I listen to a lot. So, friends, what did you think of that chapter? That was long. That was an hour
Very
in
long.
length.
It was quite arduous. I had to talk a lot.
It really did.
If you guys don't like my voice, then that chapter was probably suffering for you. But there's no one in the world who doesn't, so it's not like it was a problem.
Exactly.
So, pretty funny line from Emilia Tan. Dying in order to save only me? I can't help but feel guilty. Poor Subaru, man.
I'm so sorry. I spoiled that in the last quick discussion we had. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, no,
That's what I meant.
Yeah, you guys know the full lore now, but yeah, like when I think of that moment, it's just like I'd play some 3 Days Grace song there because Subaru needs to cope after hearing that.
Yes. Hello, Pablo.
And then
Hi.
Yo, what's up, Pablo? And then we got Reinhard being a quirky bastard in this chapter. The smugness is off the charts for this man, and I love that. I love seeing him be a personality boy. That what I just said doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean.
Boy with personality.
Sure.
Yeah, we love
It's
those.
funny though,
We love
because you never
characters.
see him do it. Like you never see Reinhard being smug, or he's always so very humble, and here he is.
Mhm.
He has an attitude.
Yeah, I mean it's Regulus. It's not that hard to poke fun at him. So I guess Reinhard, he's just like, I mean, this is just easy pickings. Might as well, right? So
True.
there's that. Then we got a lot of action going on in this chapter. Pretty crazy. The variety it makes me really hope that season 3 isn't animated by White Fox because
Okay, dude, Jesus.
they'll never do it justice.
Bringing that into the fray. Okay.
I
Oh,
mean,
my lord.
we all know
Barely
this, right?
exists nowadays, though.
Yeah, I mean they're dying. If you guys
Yeah, they
haven't
are.
noticed, a lot of people are leaving the studio. They're making like a different one. So season 3 might be in jeopardy. Sorry to make you guys worry, but it be like that sometimes.
That's
you know.
okay. It'll be ours.
That's why you should watch us.
Yay!
Yeah. Exactly. We're gonna be your only ReZero season 3 experience. It's not happening. Go home, everyone.
Oh man.
And if it does happen, we're not voicing in it, so you shouldn't watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. Support your voice actors.
But yeah, Reinhardt said quite an interesting quote that gives a little bit more depth to him, or his insight, I guess. He says, "That really is distressing to hear. It is true that, because of me, some have lost sight of their happiness."
Oh,
I wonder what that could mean.
Reinhardt is a mysterious boy.
is that
He's made some
foreboding?
people unhappy. Possibly.
Also, the fact that Emilia said this is a foreboding feeling was a very much Emilia thing, but also made me cringe while I was recording it.
Yeah.
Bro, it's gotta get that obvious. I don't even know what to call that. I don't like when narratives do that.
She
but,
is
you know.
Captain Obvious.
Yeah.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
Since the goat himself is in the chat, Pat, what would you rate my impression of you out of 10?
Probably an 11.
No way.
Don't
Yeah,
worry, Dylan Lamb. It's gonna be Wit Studio. Wit Studio's doing season 3. We're good. We're all good.
Oh god, Pat is way behind. I'm not gonna get his rating for a while. He just put that's a bit mean to White Fox.
I'm so sorry. My delay is really bad. Ren
Yikes.
is dying. I had to re-download Discord for the 12th time in 24 hours because Ren can't handle it.
But yeah, anyway, Regulus's invincibility being shown off in full force. He can't drown, he can't freeze. Like, he'd be quite the hacker in Minecraft. Let's just say that. That was so
impervious to his own attacks as well. I actually
yeah.
thought that was a very cute strategy.
Why are you hitting? I can just imagine Reinhardt like making him punch himself. Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?
The amount of sass we got from Reinhardt was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And there is one line that Pat did when he was getting angry about like don't say that about my friends. You gave me like 3 takes, but you like it was intense. I was shook. So good job. Obviously, we heard the really good one. They were all really good. I could not pick. But
sorry. Joey, my favorite person on planet Earth. Kind of clickbait. 51 isn't happening.
No, it's not clickbait.
No, don't paint us in a bad light. I'm the guy who does that.
Kyles is tired. I was up until 5 in the morning, and I had to get up for work at 7 a.m. and put away an entire order, and I only just finished 50's audio at that time. So, and then I forced GC to do all the music.
We didn't get
that time.
We didn't get it. 50 wasn't ready until like an hour before the stream started. So
yeah. I was still editing it when 49 was playing.
Well, we did it. That's all that matters. Also, Pat gave me a 12 out of 10. Let's fucking go!
Let's go.
So the quick fix of the schedule, really hoping it stays the same because I don't really want to rearrange the schedule any more than I have. 51 to 54 will be on Friday the 8th. I will be working hard on the audio. We are also getting our missing lines that we haven't had done, hopefully by then. And then we'll be back on track with 55 to 57 on Saturday the 9th and 58 to 60 on the 10th. And then we, keep going. Hopefully it stays the same. We're gonna have to see.
You guys might just get introduced to a new voice actor. Maybe it's someone in this call.
Ooh.
Maybe we have several new voice actors.
Something very interesting. Another thing from Reinhardt. Feel free to be proud. You were the second to force me to use Dragon Sword Read. That is very cool and mysterious. I wonder who the first person was. Who do you guys think it was?
Hmm.
Can I say?
Emilia
Can I say?
working at McDonald's.
All right.
Yes. I'm talking about
know-
my profile picture.
Yeah, we got it.
Honestly, I do have a theory on that, but I can't say for now.
Oh, heck.
Yeah, it's bad. I
we got-
will later if I'm around for that discussion.
No,
Series
it's-
0. Having so much lore that you just can't talk about anything. Anything. What's the point of a discussion if we can't talk about anything? Stupid anime with so much foreshadowing.
I mean, you can get to it. Like, if you think of the first chapters, perhaps you can reach the same conclusion as I did, but it's only a
so
theory.
not everyone is as smart as you.
Yeah,
I'm not smart. I'm just old.
You're huge.
I mean,
brain.
Tape is literally like, yeah, if you reread the first arc, you can literally know everything that's gonna happen. Like, yeah, bull fucking shit about that, man.
Yeah, he's goated. I have a feeling that was a troll, but I don't know.
Reinhard really plugged felt.
Oh, it is. It's that and the guy who supposedly guessed the entire
Yeah.
story like
Oh, yeah.
a long
Like,
ass
like,
time
please
ago.
Don't say, bro, please. Like, as if Tepe himself would like that would be the worst idea. If someone really did guess the story, why would you say please don't say it? Because then you just confirm a suspicion.
Yeah.
I would just nod. I'd be like, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Yes.
you're totally right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're like the smartest person ever. Wow. Crazy. Make him feel real bad.
Just fake him. You're wrong. But then again, how old is that? It's probably from 2012. God knows what his plans.
God
how
knows
his
how
plans
much
have
they changed.
Yeah, basically the ending is probably the same, but the journey
Yeah.
there. I mean, he added 2 arcs, so
Yeah.
well,
He added
1
2
arc
arcs.
technically.
Yeah, and the whole, arc 7 thing being just completely contradictory to his previous. Yeah, I don't trust a lot of his Q&As now. I'm excited.
We've
to see
we've
what-
told you in
Aw,
the
man.
past.
Yeah, I
Tape
know,
had
I
it
know.
all planned out from like 2005. The only thing he improvs on is his thousands of Emilia descriptor paragraphs.
Oh my god. The white dress. The beautiful white dress. Her legs. Her thighs. Good grief.
Yeah,
Her
Emilia's
stinky
like
bare thighs.
attacking Regulus or something. Something happens. She's fighting, and Emilia's beautiful legs drew an arc and hit Axe right in the head.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's
Tape.
just so damn silly.
He's gonna love the thumbnail. Bardo, thank you. Thank you for this thumbnail.
Thank you, Bardo. Whatever your name was.
Wow.
The Pixiv link is in the description.
Yeah, check it out.
Whatever your name was. Okay.
Yada yada.
Let's see.
Rude.
Not feel when you still cough.
Welcome back,
I'm gonna
Drad.
hope I don't.
Hey,
I cannot hear Drad. Hello.
Yeah,
Drad.
he's lighting up green, but I don't hear him.
Oh no.
That's
You might
unfortunate.
need to reconnect. Nah, there. Hello?
Nope.
Oh, no.
Oh my.
Nope.
He's a phantom. Dread phantom.
Ah, shit, my mic was turned off. All right,
There we go.
Yay!
there we go.
There it is.
great chapter, guys.
Drad, what
Thanks.
did you think about the chapter?
You know what? Amazing chapter. One of my favorites in Arc 5, really. The part I really loved, these chapters with, the Regulus fight, but the one thing that stuck out to me really was when Regulus and Reinhard were... No, wait. It was Regulus that was calling out Reinhard on his supposed greed. When he was, like, essentially describing his own actions. I just found that really funny.
Regulus. I agree. These are some of the best chapters in Arc 5, period, in my opinion. Like, they're really good.
Nothing beats the Subaru speech, but yeah.
Yeah. Some of the best chapters. There are quite a few good chapters. I think overall it's a pretty steady race with a couple of really good high points. Arc 5.
Yeah, and we were on the steadiest race for when we did the full-on edits. We chose like the worst time to start editing because 5 out of the 6 of them are just people standing around talking. So like for 42 was the only chapter that our editors had any fun editing, really.
If
Unfortunately.
I had to frickin' edit in that goddamn building one more frickin' time, I was gonna lose my mind. Ha! We're only
Here's your
doing
space
that
to
one more
rant.
time for
Let it all out.
one more time and it's worth it, and I'm excited. But oh boy! That's it. Thank you.
You had to edit in a building?
Yes. Okay.
No,
so
like-
the past like 6 chapters or something, besides 48, have been in the same like city hall building. So we've been
Yeah.
reusing the same freaking background because they haven't left the room.
Crucia's estate.
We can't bring
Yeah.
them elsewhere because it's like Roswell's mansion or Crucia's like building, and we're like, oh Jesus, we're gonna use the same room. Hollow found a different shot, so it's just same room, different angle. So we used that for a little bit. And then we switched back.
Dynamic camera angles. Let's go.
Okay, rant over. I'm so sorry.
Don't worry, I understand. Reusing material is very frustrating for someone who does editing. It feels it feels repetitive. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
So with Arc 6, we're still figuring out what the process will be, because like this pre-recorded audio only is more manageable than a full visual edit, but we'll see, because we have a bunch of our cats that are actually willing to edit, as well as the people who have auditioned that we have to go through. So it might be feasible, might not be. I like lives. I miss them when we get people showing up. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. But you
We
also
can always,
miss having a life, so.
I haven't had one of those in a while.
Damn.
True gamer, I will.
But that's okay, because we're having fun now.
Yeah.
Are you guys
Absolutely.
hyped for the lives again? Because I am.
Hype.
So
Yeah,
I
I'd
love
say
that.
so.
I don't know if I'll be here, but I will watch, and it will be fun.
Heck yeah. I think, because our Mr. Subaru got a full-time job, we might actually be doing a couple on the weekdays as well. And enough people have availability after work on the weekdays. But we'll see. So we're gonna, our schedule might not be as compact as we would like it to be, but we'll do our best.
Man, a lot of people are in junctions in their lives, and they gotta get to the grind.
Well, yeah, now COVID's letting up a bit, so people's lives are kind of coming back, which is great.
Yep.
But also, you can tell we definitely started this in COVID.
Yeah. When
It
nobody
showed.
had anything to do ever.
Well, everyone, is there anything else we want to talk about with this chapter or anything coming up?
Here's for those of us who still don't have anything to do other than their job.
But still
True.
didn't get to talk about the ice spear that just got deleted in the middle.
Yeah, I got confused by that. I had to like rewatch it several times over in the edit because I had no idea what was happening with that. Even when I was voicing it, I was like, what's happening here? So it just like
It's the handle.
the handle?
The handle.
JoJo reference.
Oh!
Oh,
Voice clap.
Beautiful.
that was hilarious.
Very nice reference.
Yeah,
Patchy,
that's a
patchy.
JoJo reference.
I love JoJo. How did I not get that? I'm a failure, Joe bro. Anyways.
Oh God.
Part 3 sucks.
But
Well,
I
this
love-
this conversation is evolving into something really awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
if we have nothing more to say about this chapter, that's it for the week.
Epic chapter. Very cool.
Epic.
Bravo.
And hopefully the schedule doesn't get too crazy. The thumbnail will be edited to reflect what chapters we did cover today. I just can't do that while streaming, so. Thank you
Sorry,
everyone
guys.
for coming.
Arigato.
And we'll see you all next time. Bye.
Well,
Bye.
Jane.
Ja.
Bye.